Hello,
Hello!
friends. Welcome to another video. What are we doing today, Scrimple?
We are discussing the books that we read in the month of February in the year of our Lord 2022.
Let's do it. Hello, if you're new here, I'm Miley.
And I'm Eric.
And we do a lot of random crap on this channel. Welcome if you're new. Don't forget to subscribe and like this video, especially if you like book content, because we are both avid readers and we have great goals this year for reading lots of books. And we're going to do one video per month to tell you about all the books we read all year long and our ratings of all of them. So today is February's video, and we're actually getting it out in time, unlike last month's video, which we'll link up here.
It's real weird.
It's real weird. We're just going to jump right into it and tell you all the books. We're going to go back and forth that we read.
How many books did you read this month?
I read 6 books this month. How many did you?
I read 9.
And here's the caveat that I will say. If you watched
There always has to be a caveat.
If you watched last month's video, then you know that we're not making this a competition.
Nope.
I had a crazy February, okay? I was in New York for a good part of February, it felt like, because February is so short, helping my parents move. So there was no time for me to read for a good chunk of February. So I'm really proud that I still got 6 books in. And by the way, if you want to see the tour of my parents' empty house in New York, that is the cutest, most character-filled house you've ever seen, I'll link it up here too. And stay tuned because that full furnished house tour is coming soon. But I digress. So my February was crazy. I still got 6 books. You got 9 books.
Yeah.
So I think we'll let you go first since you have more than me.
First book.
And we have our lists on our Goodreads app because
Yeah.
we use Goodreads to track all of our reading.
So first book was Blood Rights, which is the 6th book of the Dresden Files series by Jim Butcher. So those of you that watched the January video, there's 17 books in this series. So preview to March's video, gonna be more Dresden Files.
When do you think you'll finish Dresden?
April. So this one, okay, if you like sexy vampires, also if you like dogs, because Harry gets a dog finally. That's a magical dog, but lots of sexy vampires. So
What would you rate that one?
I'm going to give that one a 4 out of 5. It's a good, solid one. It did drag a little bit, and a lot of the characters that it's a very isolated story. A lot of the additional characters don't get a whole lot of time.
Interesting.
So yeah.
So why don't you, in the same vein, talk about the next Dresden book real quick before I do my first one? Since he's read 9, I've read 6. We're going to try to even it out here.
Book 7 of the Dresden Files. It's called Deadbeat. All about necromancy. Miley can attest.
Does that mean dead people who are like cursed to come alive?
It's people that curse dead people to come back to life.
Yeah.
But Miley can attest that there was a long stretch of time where I would come into her office during the day while I was reading it, because the culmination of this book involves a T-Rex skeleton and a guy with a polka, like, one-man band thing on that is vital to the plot. And it's so good and so fun. And unlike the previous book, you get, like, everybody's involved. Like, every character from all the books is back at it again. So that one's I give that one a 5 out of 5 because genuinely I was like belly laughing while reading.
When just a little bit that you explained to me, the couple of scenes with the T-Rex and stuff he's talking about, it just seems like such a creative, just like funny read.
It's just like you read it and you, like, out of context, it sounds stupid, but in the context of the book, like, it's all been building up to this.
Okay, so my first book that I read this month was the 6th book of Veronica Speedwell. I think it's called...
By Deanna Rayburn!
Oh my gosh! An Unexpected Peril. The 6th book in the Veronica Speedwell series. I've talked about this series all in my January video. I love it. It's a great series. Love the characters so much. It's very much a feminist mystery. This mystery was not my favorite of the Veronica Speedwell books. It was still good, though. It is about a place called the Curiosity Club, and it's kind of a feminist celebration secret society of the greatest minds of the time. Veronica Speedwell is a member, of course. Lots of scientists, lots of just all kinds of ladies who are feminists and explore traditionally male-dominated careers of the time. And this mystery surrounds a murder of one of the members of the society who was a mountain climber. And her death seemed to be a tragic accident while she was mountain climbing, but Veronica actually uncovers that it was a staged murder, and she and Stoker have to solve it.
There's been a murder.
Yes, there was a murder. There's always a murder in Veronica Speedwell. I did not love the Veronica and Stoker relationship in this one. It just kind of seemed like nothing much happened. It was kind of like, just no
smooching.
Well, there were smooching.
No, there's smooching.
There's always smooching.
Next book!
I gave that one a 4 out of 5 stars. What's your next book?
My next book is book 2 of the Stormlight Archive series by Brandon Sanderson, titled Words of Radiance. This one was a long book. They're all the Stormlight books are very long. They're like 1,200 pages each. But
not as long as Outlander.
Some of the Outlanders are.
Just
anyway. This book has all the characters you love from the first one, but this one really focuses in on Shalon, who's the female lead of the series. And this is the book that I was telling Miley. She, part of her abilities is being able to change her shape, and she creates individual personalities for each form. And a love triangle develops in the book, but it's like her warring over her feelings for 2 different guys, but it's 2 different personalities that she has developed fighting. And so that's just a really unique, interesting take on the concept of a love triangle, but also of a shapeshifter type character having these individual personalities.
Yeah, when you told me that, I was like, I've literally never heard of that take on a shapeshifter before. So what would you give that one?
That one I would give a 4 out of 5. It's Shalon I like as a character, but she's not my favorite of the protagonists. And
she sounds really cool to me.
She is really cool. But just real quick to get into the structure of the Stormlight Archives, each book focuses on a different character and gives us a lot of flashbacks into that one character. So we get a lot of Shalon flashbacks, which her story is very interesting and fascinating. It's just a bummer. There's no
there's no
joy.
Read.
So yeah. But anyway, that's my rating. Next book.
My next book that I read was my very favorite book of all time, Pride and Prejudice by Jane Austen. Right. I reread this book, if not every year, pretty darn close, sometimes multiple times in a year. It's just such a comfort to me, and I love it so much. Every time I read it, I think, is this the time where I'm going to be like, all right, let's just get through? But it never is. It always just feels like coming home to something. You just have all the warm fuzzies inside reading it. I love it so much. So if you don't know what it's about, Pride and Prejudice is about 5 sisters, their life in the turn of the 19th century. Mostly focuses on Elizabeth, my favorite character, and her love story. They're a fairly, I wouldn't call them poor family, but just a country, have what they need to have family, trying to marry off all the daughters in a world of society and, get matches that are advancing.
Make that money.
You are such a doofus. Just such a classic, wonderful, good love story, family story. I just love it. My favorite part about rereading Pride and Prejudice is, if you don't know, I collect Pride and Prejudice books. I don't collect things. I am a purger. I like to throw things out and get new things. And but Pride and Prejudice, I collect different covers and different books. So I'll buy them every time I'm in a shop and I see one that's really pretty. But my original copy of Pride and Prejudice is so beautiful. And it's what I first read the book in. It's my reading copy. It's the copy that I first read the book from. And occasionally, not every time I read through it, but occasionally I will underline some things, write in the margins. And it's so fun to go through and read the book and see what, this time when I used a pencil, I was 16. And this time when I used, a Sharpie, I was 19. Or I didn't use a Sharpie. I used a blue pen or whatever. But it's fun to see what different versions of myself underlined and was impacted by. And gosh, I just love reading Pride and Prejudice. It's my favorite book of all time. Nothing will ever beat it. I love it so much. So 10 out of 5 stars. What was your next one?
Dresden Files, Book 8,
Oh my
baby, Proven Guilty.
Yay.
So this one has Harry So there's a horror movie convention going on, and people start dying. But what's unique is they start dying from like horror movie villains, like in the real world, which is really funny because obviously Jim Butcher doesn't have like the rights to name drop like actual horror movie villains.
So were they just knockoff villains?
Well, no, he just describes them in a lot of detail, so it's like a fun puzzle as he's describing them to figure out, I see who this is.
So like what's an example of one of the villains?
So like the alien from Aliens shows up and just he describes like a super elongated head covered in black chitinous armor, and when it opens the moment I realize is when it opens its mouth, another tiny mouth comes jutting out. It's like, I see what you're doing, Jim.
That's awesome.
But yeah, I really like the book. It gets into some deeper themes that the Dresden Files books hadn't gotten into up to this point. So 5 out of 5. Okay, next book is book 9 of the Dresden Files, White Knight. This one, there is a murder plot where, well...
We read a lot of books about murder.
Yes. This one is actually like all of they are murders, but they're presented as suicides early on. But it's clear that there's something fishy going on. But the big thing is that the person implicated in the murders is somebody that's very close to Harry, and Harry would never believe that they were capable of this, but more and more evidence keeps showing up, making them like culpable and like pointing in that direction. So Harry becomes very like emotionally involved in the investigation moving forward. I'll go 4.5 out of 5.
Nice. Okay, so my next one was the 7th and very new Veronica Speedwell book. I read it the week it came out. It's called The Impossible Imposter, I believe. And this one is a really good mystery. It's about a very old friend of Veronica's who is actually impersonating another old friend of Veronica's, and they are called, Veronica and Stoker, to the great house of this family that her friend is impersonating her other friend, and solve this mystery. It's really juicy mystery, and I love it. And you find out that this person is connected to Veronica in a way that you never would have expected. And it creates some conflict with Stoker for the first time. Their relationship is challenged for the first time. It's a really juicy one. I loved the whole plot line of this Veronica Speedwell book. And I can't wait for the 8th one, which I've never had to wait for a Veronica Speedwell book before, but I have to wait for the 8th one. I don't think it'll come out till next year.
What are they going to do?
What am I going to do to wait that long? So this one was so good. 5 out of 5. Loved it. What was your next one?
Next one is Oathbringer, book 3 of the Stormlight Archive series by Brandon Sanderson. And this one is also kind of a bummer, but in a different way. This one focuses on Dalinar, kind of the older main character. And I was kind of telling you about, like, he's had some of his memories locked. Like, the whole memory of his wife is, like, blocked off through magical means, and it unlocks over the course of this book. And so you're learning more and more about the death of his wife and how what the story that he thought was true and how what everybody thought was true was not true. And there were, like, 2 people who knew the real story that were keeping it from him. And so... yeah,
did anyone just follow that?
It's a whole thing. But I really enjoyed it. I would give this one a 4 out of 5 or 4.5 out of 5. So
nice.
Yeah. Next book.
Okay. The most exciting part of my February has been the discovery of a new series. Shout out to my friend Catherine, who texted me and was like, "Okay, here's what you have to read because you will love it. I loved it and you will love it." I am in the middle of reading the Zodiac Academy books. They are so freaking good. It's a new genre I've never read before. It's called bully romance, which apparently just like takes the love-hate relationship theme further. And you have a character who starts out bullying, like really hating each other, and then their relationship totally does a 180 and flips. I will say the first book, which I'll talk about that one first in this, is called The Zodiac Academy, The Awakening, I believe. And it was hard to read because of this bullying trope, but you have to read that kind of backstory setup almost to have the payoff of all the books in the future. And so it wasn't my favorite trope to read. I didn't love it, but it's so worth it for the story. And oh my God, it's just so good. So quick synopsis. It's about two sisters who are foster kids. Their parents died in a fire when they were babies, and they've been in the foster care system their whole life. They turn 18 and they're just out of it. And they are found and told by this man that they are actually changelings who were switched at birth with another set of human children. They are actually what's called a fae, and they belong to a magical world. And not only do they belong to this magical world, but they are the long-lost daughters of the last line of royals from this world. So they're the long-lost princesses that are supposed to rule over this world. So they go to the Zodiac Academy, where it's basically like a college campus for magical people to learn their magical skills. And it's just such a fun world. So well built, so well thought out, so intricate and detailed. It's got different orders. So everyone at the academy can have 4 different types of magic: fire, wind, water, earth, the elements, of course, and they can appear in any type of different order. So you've got vampires, werewolves, sirens, dragons, harpies, just literally any type of magical creature or magical thing you can imagine, someone that could be their order. So just a really intricate, well-designed magic world that's a little different than anything I've ever read. And the big conflict in the series is because they were the last line of royalty, their royal counselors took over the throne and shared it among the 4 of the royal counselors. And the royal counselors, who have been ruling over this land for 18 years, have 4 sons who will inherit control of this land. They're called the heirs. They're also training at the academy. So you've got this political warfare of the heirs versus the new hidden princesses that have just come back to the land. It is so stinking good. So the first book is all about their origin story and discovering this magical world, coming to it, the inciting incident, and the heirs treating them really, really badly. So this one I would give a 4.5 out of 5 stars.
My next book is, I'll do book 4 of Stormlight Archives by Brandon Sanderson. Rhythm of War.
I thought you were going to say Rhythm of the Night.
So this one it's good. It's probably my least favorite thus far, except for the ending. I don't know if you've ever read a book that like it just nails the landing on the ending so well that it just elevates the whole thing. The flashbacks focus on side characters that are like part of the enemy forces, and I just didn't really get into that. Like I wasn't engaged. By the end of the book, I think I was to the point of being engaged that Sanderson wanted me to be at the beginning of the book. So yeah, that didn't really land for me. And the rest of the book is good. It's just not as engaging or exciting when you're getting the emotional stakes of the flashbacks. Having said that, on my channel, I talked about a story within the story that's told about a dog and a dragon, and I came in and told Miley that as soon as I was done reading it. It's just a very impactful story that happens near the end of the book, and then there's a huge twist at the end of the book, setting up book 5, which is not out yet. So
you have to wait.
But Brandon Sanderson releases like 3 books a year, so I'm not gonna have to wait too long.
Link up here to Eric's video more in depth on that on Eric's personal channel.
And yeah, that's all I have to say about that. I'm gonna give it a 4 out of 5.
4 out of 5. Nice. Okay, my next book was book number 2 in the Zodiac Academy series called Ruthless Fae. So in this one, they start to fight back against the bullying that the 4 heirs have wrought upon them in book 1. And they develop a more complicated relationship with the 4 of them. They get to know them a lot better, and you get to explore more of the magical world in this one. It's just, I can't recommend this series enough. If you like a good romance, if you like magical fantasy, that you should read this. It's such an easy read. Oh, one more thing I really want to point out about this book that might be one of my very favorite things about it is the second book starts as soon as the first book ends. There is no explanation. My least favorite thing to read about a series is the 10-ish pages of let's recap what happened in the first one.
Here's how the world works.
While trying to incorporate that in our story without making it seem like blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
You know, it doesn't do any of that. It just picks up. It is so fast, So well paced. I just love that about the series so much. You don't have to make it through the hullabaloo of explaining what just happened in the book you literally stopped reading 5 seconds ago. You don't need the synopsis. And who's going to pick up a book in like the middle of book 3? A dum-dum, that's who. Don't do that.
I mean, I don't think you're a dum-dum if you did that.
I do.
Live your truth. Read the way you want to read.
So this one, I will give a 5 out of 5. I loved it so much. The bullying trope didn't bother me at all because it kind of felt more like backstory than you had to actually like slough through the bullying. It was kind of over and done with for the most part, and they were fighting back. It was more of an equal playing field between the heirs and the 2 twin princesses who are such great characters. Love, love, love this series. Okay, what's your next one?
Book 10 of the Dresden Files series. Small Favor. So this one...
That's a funny book title.
It's a bit of a misnomer. So basically, Harry owes the Queen of the Fey Winter Court 3 favors, and she's calling in number 2. And basically, somebody that is one of Harry's like enemies, but they have a begrudging respect and they'll work together when they need to. It's the head of like the mob in Chicago. He gets kidnapped by somebody, and Harry normally wouldn't care, except that he recently got integrated into like the magical hierarchy, and it's Harry's duty to go protect him. So Harry's like angry the whole time, having to go rescue this person. And every one of his allies that he talks to, Marconi's allies, he's like, just so you know, I would leave him to rot if I didn't have to be doing this. But there's a lot of phase stuff, and you get a lot of...
You have phase in your book too?
Yeah, a whole lot of phase.
Phase is just like a general term, right? For like it's a pretty common used word.
Fae is the Fae is a common thing in most magical worlds.
Okay, yeah, go on, sorry.
So, but yeah, you have demons. The demons from like book 4 come back.
Oh, that's fun.
And so the Knights of the Cross come back. And so you have like the holy theological stuff with the Fae stuff going on. And so it's kind of this like all of these different threads coming together, which is a lot of fun. This one, 5 out of 5. Yeah, because there's some really good like... You think it's a twist, but it's Harry just faking out the enemy. Okay,
my last book, my 6th book, was the 3rd book in the Zodiac Academy series. I'm just going to have to do a whole deep dive video on this once I finish the series, and probably not for a while because the 8th book, the final book, doesn't come out till November or December, so won't be anytime soon, but stay tuned. This one is called The Reckoning. This is my favorite one so far, and I just think like the more the series goes, the more I'm going to continue liking it. The more the world gets built, the more the plot gets complicated. It's just, it's such a good, well-paced, well-designed, good payoff, great character series. I love this series. I can't rave about it anymore. This is about, after their freshman year at the academy, they have to, and every freshman has to go through what's called the Reckoning. What are you doing?
I don't know.
You weirdo? Which is basically just...
Which is basically just...
What are you doing?
I'm holding your hand.
He's so weird, you guys. You're such a show out. You're such a little show out.
Basically just...
It's basically a test of worthiness, a magical test. They have to go through a bunch of different trials. They go through a hell week where all the older students can make their life a living hell with magic. And they have to prove their worth to be able to stay at the academy and hold their place for the rest of the 3 years or whatever. And so watching the girls magic blossom and go through this trial is so cool. Such a great payoff. Their order form finally shows up and appears in these books, and you get to determine what kind of magical creature or magical element they are, and it's so interesting. I will say my friend Catherine can attest, I totally called their order form from the beginning. I was like, this is what they are, and I was right. And it also at the very end sets up what I think is going to be the more overarching conflict and problem throughout the whole series, the big bad villain. And it introduces a new shadow realm that brings in dark magic. Oh my God, you guys! I truly cannot rave about this. I have not read a series that I love this much and that I'm so into, probably since I read Outlander, which is my favorite book series.
Whoa.
Yeah. Whoa. Like, this one is so dang good. So dang good. You should read it if you like anything that I just described. So this one I would give a 6 out of 5. Like, it is so good.
That's not how scales work.
I'm currently in the 4th one, which is also so good. I'll tell you that in the 3rd one, too, the romance really ramps up.
Yeah.
Oh my God. So it is such a good series. I can't recommend it anymore. Stay tuned for March's video because I'm sure it's going to be full of more Zodiac Academy ravings.
My last book.
Book.
Yeah, you already rated it. 6 out of 5. You broke the scale.
Yeah, broke it.
Last book. It's by Nicholas Eames, a new author from me.
Eric
on the
read
channel.
something other than Brandon Sanderson or a Dresden book? What?
It's called Kings of the Wild, spelled WYLD.
Oh, yeah. This book sounds really good.
I will say, if you're like wanting to get into reading fantasy and you don't mind bad language, this is... You don't need to be invested in the world. Like, it's a very light, easy read. There's not like paragraph after paragraph of like, doth king begat his son to the fae. So it's a very simple, it's a band of adventurers who have retired. And so they've all scattered to the wind. They're all doing their own thing. One of their daughters gets into trouble. And so they go around getting the band back together. But it uses rock and roll terminology. Like, they refer to groups of adventurers and mercenaries as bands, and they have like a band name and fans. So it's all just very much framed in that rock and roll sort of verbiage and stuff. And it's so fun, and it does not at any point take itself seriously while still maintaining a level of emotional stakes. Like, you really care about the characters and you want to see them okay.
It's got a lot of lighthearted humor.
Yes. So,
but still emotional.
Yes. Very
connection.
Good. Highly recommend it. I read the audiobook and it was a lot of fun. The narrator does a lot of really fun accents for everyone. But 5 out of 5. Highly recommend it. It was a blast.
So it sounds like neither of us read a book we hated this month.
No.
Nothing under 4 stars.
Yeah.
Wow, that's good. Okay, well, thank you guys so much for watching. Comment down below. Let us know what you read. If you have any recommendations for us that we need to add to our list.
Like the video.
Like the video. Subscribe. Anything else, Scrimpy?
Just smash it.
Thank you for watching. We'll see you in the next one. Bye.
Bye.